Hello. I'm just waiting to see if there's any. Let's hold on. Let's go live. Well, hello there. I don't know if anybody's watching, but we'll let's. Anybody out there? Is anybody out there? Give me a quick minute. Right. Right. Is anybody out there? Ah, hello. See you. Right. Right. Hello. Good evening. Good evening, all. And I don't know how long this has been going on for, but I'll just pop this. Right. I'll do. Right. Give me a quick minute, because. Right. Let me sort this out. As you can tell, still professional to the end, you know. As always, good evening, all. Good, good evening, Joe Lefty Boater, Wolfpet, Steve Banker. Good evening, and good evening, Susan DW, and have you any more? Tuba Driver. Good evening, Dermot Smith, and Jodie Jackson. Good evening, and Reg Fairburn. Good evening, and Amanda G. Hello there. Good evening. I hope you're all very well. Now, the reason why I'm doing something a little bit like this is the simple reason I had no plan for Friday. And I usually will have a video and then spend the rest of the weekend chilling out. But with Parliament being in recess, I don't really have a lot of going. So I just basically just decided to, good evening, Tories, don't get tasered, and pleasure to see you. And I just thought, why not just do a bit of a live stream, bit of a yeah, every day's a school day. Totally agree, Wolfbet. So I just decided to bring in the weekend with a bit of a good chuckle and a bit of a good laugh. So I just picked up a few interesting little videos and stuff like that, you know, that's happened over the last 24 hours, because we all know it's been quite quiet in the political world, as always, you know. And so I just decided why not do a couple of live streams, you know, see if I can work my way around all these, this OBS. I don't do enough of them, do I really, to learn up, but I'm just sort of like learning as I go. And I'll probably do a few more next week because there's not really a lot to go on. I know you all do enjoy them select committee meetings, but the trouble is there's a lot of good stuff in there, but if you don't really see the thumbnail and a good title to go with it, sometimes it's just not really worth doing. So I might just decide to do a few odd live streams here and there of a couple of committee meetings just for the hell of it, if you know what I mean. But anyway, less of my rambling, because I'm doing it a little bit too much. But as we see here, our Jacob Rees-Mogg doing the media rounds this morning. He really was on the defensive, but he really made sure that the Tories were in full form, weren't they? And it was just it wasn't a really surprising result, were it, for both Wellingborough and is it Kingswood? Yeah. If you've been sort of like watching all the form and what, you just had that feeling that they're going to lose them both, and the way they've been acting, they've been going to lose them both, aren't they? But I just thought that picture just summed up Jacob Rees-Mogg this morning, as he said, "Oh, I'm there as a reporter for GBBs," and then he's saying, "I'm doing the rounds, doing interviews with the BBC." It's either one or the other, isn't it, really? But yeah, totally agree. I need a bleach to get my eyes. But there were a couple of interesting videos that I found really interesting over the last 24 hours, and I just thought we'd have a little watch them and have a little chat about them for next hour or so. Just thought this, because I found what you call it, the last 24 hours, be it on Question Time and a few dodgy things with the Tories. Yeah, Jacob Rees-Mogg probably ain't gone to bed. His nanny ain't probably tucked him up, you know what I mean? But anyway, this was an interesting little bit of an exchange, and I didn't know what to make of it, because there were a couple of things that were running through my head where I thought there were a little bit of it was between Graham Stewart and Lucy Powell, where I thought Graham Stewart, I think he was just towing the party line, where I was just getting the feeling that's all they've got left, and it go hard on this anti-Semitism line. And then I don't know what to make of Lucy Powell, and I get the feeling that I got the feeling that she was basically maybe feeling the pressure a little bit, and she went to the last port of call where, let's be honest, yeah, Nanny must have been cross. And I just got the feeling that she just went for the old fail-safe, because let's be honest, when it comes to the moral fibre of the moral fibre of what you call them, of the Conservative Party, they're in no place to really criticise other people, are they? And did anyone hear or see Nick Police State Ferrara this morning? He was next to crying this morning on his propaganda LBC show. His culture wars, hard right-wing Tory is not work. Yeah, I've got a little bit of a video which that I've found quite interesting. It's a little bit of an interview, and I think what they had to say might actually have a point. But anyway, we'll have a look. I want to know what you think about this one, with this exchange between Lucy Powell and Graham Stewart, because they were saying, Lucy Powell, absolutely Lucy Powell, you know, absolutely rinsed him. But I don't know. I just got the feeling maybe she was just feeling the pressure of it and went for the old fail-safe. Because, like, in a way, she's got a point because they don't really have any moral high ground to criticise anybody else, have they?
Rochdale, many of whom I know, because it's not that far from where I live, won't be able to cast their vote in the way that they want to, which is to vote Labour. So you can't take these decisions
so who else
lightly.
There, will you come clean on who else was
look,
at the
do you know
meeting?
what, Graham? I honestly won't take lectures from you because we've had many by-elections in these last few years as a result of your MPs going around misbehaving, going around taking money for asking questions in Parliament, going around exposing themselves, going around exposing themselves to their staff, going around creating mayhem. Chris Pincher by name, Pincher by nature, who your Prime Minister said a by-election calls for that, when your party have stood by those people at every stage, and we've had by-elections. I will not take any lectures from you.
Can I hang on. Can I also just point out?
Yeah. You can tell. Now, when I watched that, there were a couple of things whirring in my head. Good evening, Alistair Kebb. I hope you're well, my good friend. And thank you. Yeah, I do my best. I really do my best. And good to see you. But there were a couple of things that walked in my head that you could tell that's all he's got. And don't get me wrong, he had an uncomfortable ride, didn't he? Whereas I got the feeling that maybe she was feeling the pressure and because like it is an uncomfortable subject for him to sort of like go around, isn't it? And I got the feeling maybe she felt the pressure and thought, right, give him it a bit, because in a way she's right, because they don't really have the moral fibre to really criticise any party for misbehaviour. Because how many by-elections has it been? That so many, absolutely so many. So they've got no real room to really criticise anybody, have they? And there were, oh, this is belter. Oh, I have to show you this. You know, after the by-election results, now we have our regular muttonhead of Maureen Atwood. You know, every so often she'll make an appearance on Twitter with her. Oh, yes, I thought she'd taken it down. So how difficult for fellow MPs. We have no choice. We have to change leader. We don't want to be here, but sticking heads in the sand will make matters worse. Last chance saloon to change course with a new leader to be tough on immigration and save our great country from the socialists. Yes, this is our regular MP for muttonhead of Maureen Atwood. So you can guarantee when everything goes wrong, she posts this letter up. It was from November the 13th. 2023, where she posted, "Enough is enough. I have submitted my vote of confidence letter to the chairman of the 1922 club. It is time for Rishi Sunak to go and replace him with a real Conservative Party leader." And I've seen her post that tweet on a number of occasions when things go tits up, and I just had to show you that. And I could have our muttonhead of Maureen Atwood absolutely losing it again. But I just thought it was a really interesting, good question. Now, during the audience, this was a really, really interesting statement this woman said. And now when it comes to what's happening in Israel, I'm never an expert on it. It's not something I'm that much of an expert on it. There'll be far better people when it comes to the conflict between in Israel and Palestine for me. So, but this was an interesting little bit of a statement, and I just want to know what you guys make of it?
From you.
I agree with everything that you've said about the Labour Party, but I think this is across the board, and this problem will not go away until we look at the definition of what is anti-Semitism. We can criticise Sudan and politics, we can criticise Indonesia, France, Germany, but you say a word against Israel and you're anti-Semitic. And it's
Do you mean a word against Israel or a word against the Israeli government?
The Israeli government and Israel generally. Anti-Semitism should be about a faith and something against Jewish people. I have been in countless marches surrounded by Jewish people shouting things which, if I said, I'd be accused of anti-Semitism, and Jewish people could say. It's a political thing, and we need to look at that definition of what anti-Semitism is, and I think at the moment it's wrong.
OK, all right. There'll be people who disagree with you, obviously, but I hear what you say. From you.
Yeah, it was. Now, I was wondering what the response would be from the crowd, and it was sort of like deathly silence, wasn't it? And that guy shouting "token." And that's the reason why I just watched the list. That's an interesting conversation. Now, in a way, there are bits I think, yeah, she's got a point, because as soon as it's like, since what's happened, is it October the 7th, there's coming a point where how many deaths is enough. Now, I'm sure there were a conversation between one of the audience and one of the people on the you know what I mean, words have escaped me. They were on the panel, that's the word I'm after. And I'm sure she said something about these kids that have died in Gaza are victims of war. And it's kind of thinking, not so sure about that. Because it's coming to a point now where I personally think, I could be wrong on this, that the Israeli government have made an absolute propaganda mess of what they've been doing. They're making it more and more difficult for world leaders to really support them, don't they? So it was an interesting statement. So I just think, well, you guys, let's move this. Yeah, Duke Venge, yeah, Labour had a worse week, apparently. Yeah, they've not had the best of weeks, though, have they? But compared to the Tories, it's been horrendous, hasn't it? and I've said to my wife on a couple of occasions that if they had bad weeks, you can guarantee Tories will have an even worse one, because Rishi Sunak, he will just he will fuck up somewhere, won't he? You know, he will do something really stupid and make an idiot of himself. But yeah, good evening, Matt. And yeah. I always keep forgetting saying stuff like that. You know, terrible at self promotion. I'm hitting like hit the like button, all that. Yeah, I'm terrible for self promotion. Terrible shill. Oh, I would never make a good right wing grifter, would I? Terrible. Good evening, Master Templar. Good to see you. See, reform got more votes in ballot. Scary Labour need to improve, and yes, I see what could come back. I also remember, was it 2015 that they were at UKIP? They finished second in Wellingborough, didn't they? And they got about 20% of the vote. So yeah, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yeah, I see what you mean. But so that reform was always going to be an interesting one, wasn't it? Now, I think the proof will be in the pudding with reform is how they do at the general election, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Cheers, Master Template. It was just a case of I had nothing planned for tonight because I look around for material and more often than not, if I don't see a thumbnail and a bit of a title, even if I think it's a very interesting video, if I don't see it, sometimes it's a bit pointless because you ask Marcus when it comes to making your content, it takes some doing. You got all your things, and if it only gets a handful of views, you think that was a lot of hard work. So more often than not, some of the best videos, it's usually because I've seen the thumbnail first, and I'll just watch and there's my thumbnail, and I'll usually have got my thumbnail designed and whatever before I've even recorded, and I've got my title sorted out. And if I don't see my thumbnail or my title, sometimes I don't. So I'm just wondering, maybe doing a few more live streams, because I know you all enjoy them select committee meetings. So there's quite a few where I might just do some select committee meeting live streams, you know, and we can watch them together and whatnot, because more often than not, I'll see something that I think that's pretty good, but I know the thumbnail will be, oh, thank you, Stephen. Yeah, cheers for that. And I'll just think that the thumbnail just might not work, but it's probably be better off in a thumbnail for a live stream. And that might work that way. But it was just an interesting. But anyway, back away from my rambling. This was just a very, very interesting little bit of an excerpt, because I see where she means, because you do get the feeling the odd one or two people who, if you try and criticise the Israeli government, because for me, I think there's coming at a point where it's getting harder and harder to support them with what they're doing. It's like, how many have been killed? Good evening, Potato Face. Hope you're well. Because that how many deaths is too many. Here's for getting this house ready for sale, so play catch up with everyone. No worries, Suzanne. No worries. Good luck with your move. Hope everything goes well. Oh, because I think we've moved a couple of times. And it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. I remember I'd booked a van for us moving one day, and as I drove, and I'd organised it and give the guy some a bit of a deposit, and I said you'll be open on Saturday. What? Yeah. I said it needs to be open at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, gates shut, nobody around, and I'm thinking, what the hell am I going to do? So I had to go flying around looking for another hire van. Luckily, my wife's brother knew another place. I found another place, and we got a van, another, but it's a nightmare. But yeah, good luck with you moving, Suzanne, and I hope it all goes well. Cheers, Wolfbet, yeah. Israel have protested and have the Alistair. As I say, I have to be honest. Foreign affairs is not really my thing. I try to be interested, but after a while, I tend to lose interest. I know I shouldn't do that, but in a way, I just do, and that's one of my Achilles' heels. It's one of my Achilles' heels, and I think I have to move 4 times in 16 years. Last move was here and no more. I have to flash. Yeah, I can understand. But anyway. But I just found that little bit excerpt really interesting, and we can't go by without having a little laugh at this cretin on a number of occasions. See, because there's a couple of things that I've found very interesting when our Titchy's short stuff, he speaks. I don't think he speaks to people. I think he speaks at people. What do you guys think? And then I found it bizarre that he decides. For me, you basically saying that those people who voted for the Labour MP are dumb for voting for him for voting for Labour because of no plan, and and then tries to say, oh, it's mid-election blues or whatever. I've forgotten what they call it. But I just found this. He tries to talk as quickly as he can, and it just sounds like he talks at people. Do you know what I mean?
Midterm by-elections are always difficult for incumbent governments, and the circumstances of these by-elections were, of course, particularly challenging. Now, I think if you look at the results, very low turnout, and it shows that we've got work to do to show people that we are delivering on their priorities, and that's what I'm absolutely determined to do, but also shows that there isn't a huge amount of enthusiasm for the alternative in Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, and that's because they don't have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, you can't deliver real change. And when the general election comes, that's the message I'll be making to the country. Stick with our plan, because it is starting to deliver the change that the country wants and needs.
Do you believe him? And also when he says priority, all I can think of is Nick Abbott on a Friday and Saturday night on LBC. He's got some great soundboards of Rishi Sunak, our Titchy Short stuff. And is it me, or do you get the feeling he talks at people and not to people? You can't relate to ordinary people, so all he can do is... Yeah, you're probably right, Suzanne. Yeah. Hello, Mellow Maggie. Hope you're well. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as I've said before, I had not planned for tonight. I usually have a video for something like 6 o'clock, and I've usually got things, but with them being in recess, it's not easy, and I just thought I usually have a video, welcoming the weekend, and no plans for that. Sod it, do a live stream. But yeah, he does. He seems to. And midterm blues, really, on a year when you're going to be going into election mode. Not sure I believe you, really, do you? Yeah, totally agree. He's a lefty boy. He's just delusional. Or do you? Or is it me? Can you look into them eyes and you just see that distant look, as if to say, not long ago, and then I can fly off to California. No doubt he'll probably be on that plane just as the exit poll is coming through on the plane to California. Done. Probably handed in his resignation, and he'll be gone. For the beaches of California away. Yeah, shows you how much he loves this country, as his wife once said on stage. But yeah, there's something about him when he talks to people. It's as if he talks at them. Very, very interesting. But yeah, now this is really, really interesting. This, yeah, vacant behind the eyes. That's the sort of feeling I'm getting as well as the vacant. It's as if he's just going through the motions, isn't there? In his heart, he knows he's not going to. But this is really interesting. This is basically about. This is about what they basically did to Sadiq Khan. Well, they basically remember in last election where they clipped up what they call Keir Starmer in an interview to make him look as though he didn't know what he was doing when you saw is there a GBB's news interview? They asked if anyone had any questions, and one guy said, "Where do I put my expenses claim?" Yeah, I thought that was funny. That was funny, and I find that weird. Why would you go on a show like that where they're not going to vote for you anyway. It's a mouthpiece for reform. It just shows you how naive he is at politics, isn't he? He is politically so naive and rubbish at it. And robot prime miniature stick into programming software. Yeah. But yeah, this was... But anyway, this was the chair of the Conservative Party, Richard Holden, defends the use of the clipped video of Sadiq Khan on the party's social media. Yeah. And you just think there's no drain low enough for them to go, is there? They will go as low as they can. Good evening, Joseph Jones. I really hope you're well. Hopefully I can entertain you and hopefully welcome you into the weekend as best I can. But this is interesting.
It's not been edited; it was clipped, and
that's exactly the
and
same
I think
thing.
That's the, and I think the note's actually quite different. But I think it's, I think
I work in audio production, Mr. Holden.
No, well, I think we both know the difference between editing something to misconstrue it or clipping something. And I think the issue we're trying to highlight, and I think which is really important to British people, is that the Labour Party hasn't changed, whether it comes to anti-Semitism within it under Keir Starmer.
The Conservative Party shared on social media a selectively edited clip of Sadiq Khan misspeaking during a TV interview. The clip was taken from footage of the mayor speaking with Sky News, in which he said Labour is, quote, proud to be both anti-racist but also anti-Semitic, before correcting himself to add, beg your pardon, tackling anti-Semitism. But the video that you posted on the Conservative social media account stops his words before he makes the correction. Why are you being dishonest and misleading online?
I think it's quite clear that when it comes to the Labour Party at the moment, issues over anti-Semitism are really problematic.
Sure,
for
but
them.
why are you putting disinformation about it out into the public domain?
Well, just a second. And I think the issues we've seen over the last few days, with the Labour leader unwilling for a very long time until he was forced to by MPs to deselect an anti-Semitic, racist Labour candidate, I think actually show that, Times polls have shown this themselves, that people don't believe that the Labour Party has changed when it comes to anti-Semitism.
You're not answering the question, Mr. Holden.
Well, I'm actually talking about the real issue here, which I think is anti-Semitism.
Well, hang on a second. There's a second issue. There is a second issue.
I'm interested in talking about the main issue, right? Which is a main issue which is actually affecting people.
Do you know what I'd have done here? I'd have just cut him out and cut his voice out and asked me a question. I wouldn't have allowed him to talk this utter nonsense, and I'd just said, are you going to answer the question? And if he wasn't going to, I'd have just stopped the
people.
interview.
Let's be
Hang on
very
a second.
clear.
How can you say that misinformation published by the Conservative Party is not an important issue to address?
I can tell you now, it's not misinformation to talk about anti-Semitism in the Labour Party.
That's not what I've said.
Just a second.
I've said that you've published misinformation on Sadiq Khan's comments.
Let's be very clear.
I am being clear.
What's happened over the last few months? Back in October last year, at a meeting of senior Labour people in Lancashire, where it's clearly attended by prospective parliamentary candidates, the head of the Labour group, Labour Council group leaders, right? It was clear that anti-Semitic tropes were being talked about widely and openly at that meeting.
We've covered this in great detail on this station.
And nobody within Labour, I think this has been talked about extensively actually. Nobody in Labour, since October last year, nobody in Labour raised that issue. Right, it's almost 6 months on from that.
I've asked
and
you about
the
editing of a video that you've published. It is misinformation. It portrays something inaccurate to people online.
You've
not addressed that.
What it highlights is an issue of anti-Semitism at the heart of the Labour Party, and it's not been edited; it was clipped.
That's exactly the same thing.
I think the note's actually quite different. But I think it's.
I work in audio production, Mr. Holden.
No, well, I think we both know the difference between editing something to misconstrue it or clipping something. And I think the issue we're trying to highlight, and I think which is really important to British people, is that the Labour Party hasn't changed, whether it comes to anti-Semitism within it under Keir Starmer, as much as you like to say it has. Okay. It hasn't changed when it comes to the idea that they've got plans for huge increases in public spending, but no idea of how to pay for them. And I think those are important issues that the British public want to see highlighted, and it's important that we highlight them, especially when, for the best part of 6 months, nobody in the Labour Party was willing to challenge blatant anti-Semitism being talked about openly at Labour Party meetings.
What a bell tapper. Good. I suppose. Yeah. Good morning, Steve McMorran. I nearly said McSporran. The only reason why I said that, I've got a friend called Simon McSporran. So good morning, my friend. Hope you're well. Good morning, Steve McMorran. And there was somebody else. Why am me? Why are me in my shoes? That's a great name. Sorry if I said it wrong and butchered it. I do apologise. Good evening. I really hope you're well. But yeah, that is just low, innit? And yeah, I totally agree. Do any 2-bit YouTuber can clip someone out of context. It happens all the time. Yeah. Me in Scotland are so used to MSN Westminster clip. Yeah, I can imagine you will be. But yeah, that was just embarrassing, isn't it? And as I was basically watching all this, there was basically the clip that they basically.
A party like mine that is proud to be both anti-racist but also anti-Semitic. I've not seen the transcripts, but as far as I'm concerned, that sort of language isn't acceptable, and it certainly shouldn't be acceptable in a party like mine that is proud to be both anti-racist but also anti-Semitic.
And we'll come back to some of those.
Beg your pardon, tackling anti-Semitism. A party like mine.
There you go. You know, we all can have a slip of the tongue, can't we? And that's just low. That is very, very low. And like I watched earlier on, I listened to James O'Brien, and he basically posted a bit of audio of Rishi Sunak saying, "I'm a coke addict." Yes. No, it was. It's saying, I can guarantee you that was clipped. Wasn't edited. It was just chuckling away. And yeah, anyway, two could play that with that game if they wanted to. But that is low. That is really, really low. That is pathetic. Mind you, that Richard Holden, he is a bit of a absolute, I would probably say, nasty piece of work. Man, she's a Tory. What do you expect? But I'll say that I've got a couple of clips from Question Time last night, and I just found a lot of these quite very, very interesting. You've probably seen them, but the thing is, I don't watch Question Time because it's just, I can't do with Fiona Bruce. I just think that there's something screams Tory stooge for me. What do you guys think? But that's you know what I mean. That's set up. It's like the clip of Keir Starmer talking about Israel. They clipped that out of context too. To be honest, I didn't really see that clip, but I have heard one or two people say that too. But yeah, it's easy done. It's very easily done. Now, whenever I make my raise my blood, yeah, I can understand. Yeah, it's not something I just prefer to watch the clips and just leave it at that, because it's just very, very yeah, but I can't watch it. But I'll just see the odd clips, and this was very, very interesting. What I've forgotten his name now. Give me a quick minute. Oh, Jürgen Meyer. Sorry if I butchered his name, I do apologise. But it's very, very interesting.
Truth is that it's just not the news today that tells us we've got a technical recession. We have had a low growth or a no growth economy for the best part of the last 15 years. I represent business, and business investment in this country has been pretty much flat for the last 8 years. Brexit didn't help the confidence for business to invest in this country. We haven't invested enough in infrastructure, which helps grow the economy. Things like cancelling HS2 has knocked confidence for the business community even more. And all of that has led to an economy which is flat, not growing, but it's also a low-wage economy. And that's why a lot of people in this country are feeling the pinch, because living standards just haven't risen. Now, look, the good news is I don't want to be doom and gloom everywhere here, because there is an answer. I mean, we are sat in a university here in Lancaster, and we have brilliant universities up and down the country. And what we need to do is to invest much, much more in the technologies that are coming out of these universities, the skills, and we need to invest more in the green economy. We need to create new industries. I call it creating an industrial strategy. And sadly, this government, who I've worked with, I've advised, I've helped create industrial strategies, but actually we've not really managed to get it together. And we've not managed to create this new industrial green revolution or the infrastructure revolution that we need to create. And that's what we need to do more. So the answer is not lower taxation. The answer is invest more in industry, invest more in infrastructure, and create more well-paid
And get that money from where you're going to borrow it? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, look, I mean, we're going to have to find some ways to invest. And in the green economy, there is lots of business, private sector people that are willing to invest in this country. What business needs is more confidence, needs more support from the government, needs a long-term industrial strategy. Do you know, we have had 11 growth strategies in this country in the last 14 years. 11. What sort of confidence does that give to business to invest?
Well, let's ask
And
Graham.
we need more of that confidence,
Okay.
and I tell you, we can find a way to
So
invest. Absolutely.
what sort of confidence does that give to businesses then?
Very interesting. Good evening, Cthulhu. Good to see you, my good friend. Hope you're well. But yeah, yes, 11 biz. What is it? Yes, give me names. Yeah, growth strategies in 14 years. Wow. Sorry for chuckling. I was just reading a couple of people's comments about why they cannot watch Question Time, and I totally understand the reason why, because I can't watch it. So, also, good evening, Mary McClare, and yeah, thank you. Yeah, why family's very, very well. I hope you and yours are really, really well as too, and pleasure to see you, and thank you for stopping by. But yeah, it was a very, very interesting speech, I suppose, what he said. Oh, it's all right, Cthulhu. Don't worry about it. You know, it's. I'm just being a pleasure. It's a pleasure to see you here. So, if you have to go and do whatever you need to do, because the weekend is upon us, isn't it, my friend? So it's not a problem. Don't worry about it. Yeah, yeah. More money in their pockets, more spending and more economic activity. That's growth. And as the right wing would say, Steve McMorran. It's called Simon McMorran. That's my friend's name, and that's what's doing me head in. Sorry, Steve McMorran. Yeah, and if it's like that old trope, you know, if your job ain't paying enough, they'll say, yeah, they're very well, Cthulhu. Yeah, cheers. Hope you and your loved ones as well. But yeah, they'll say, well, get on your bike and get a better job, won't they? But when businesses are complaining about they're struggling, you just say to them, well, a little bit less avocados and summer holidays, and you know, you can buy beans in pound shop, you know. You know, just throw it back at them, you know, get them annoyed. but yeah, I just found that a really interesting statement. There's one or two in question time that I just found. Yeah, we talked about that, Martin, and there were, and I just, there were a couple of little things that whirring around in my head about that statement, about that incident where she basically, it wasn't hard, you know. I think he kind of forgot about all the by-elections that they've had to have because tractor porn guy and pinch you by name, pinch you by nature. They've no real moral ground to criticise anybody, have they? But anyway, but yeah, I just found that a really interesting statement. But anyway, this was a really interesting little interview, and it's sort, you know, these are sort of interviews where you just want to see more of, you know, none of this.
Well, nearly 4,000 votes.
You know, sort of like throwing mud at people. This, and it's very, very classy because, like, she just won at what nearly said Wembley. Then get your teeth in, Daz. Wellingborough, and it was just a really, really classy replies from. I've no idea what they call her. I've not really checked her name, but it was really, really, really classy replies.
Well, nearly 4,000 votes. They seem to have taken votes off the Tories rather than Labour. Do you think Reform has helped you win by quite a decent margin?
Ben Van, very slick campaign. We've seen them out a lot both on the doors, but also quite high visibility, both on digital as well as in person. So I commend them on their campaigning.
And what do you think about the fact that the Tories selected the partner of Mr. Bone, who'd been kicked out in a recall petition?
I mean, I'm not one to judge a woman by who she ties herself to, and I think Helen is very competent in her own right.
Right. So I mean, obviously people will say, oh, Labour will lose this seat at the general election. What would you say to anyone who says that?
I'm going to be out on Saturday and probably out next weekend door knocking to make sure we keep it.
Well,
you could just hear the ticking of the reporter's brain as if to say, well, I'm not used to this. Where's the mudslinging? I'm not going to get a viral clip out of this. Being nice and friendly towards everybody, and it's and you could just see her looking as if you're not going to get a rise out of me. I just found it, but yeah, it was just a classy set of replies. Had some good energy instead. Radio yeah, Duke Vengeance. Yeah. But yeah, it was just a really interesting interview, and I thought she was really classy. Now, if you want to know Richard Holden, if you want to know how you handle a situation that you find yourselves in with the Sadiq Khan editing clipping nonsense, yeah, absolutely, Alistair Cairn. Yeah, Alistair Cairn. Yeah, excellent interview. Didn't give anything away. No, she didn't. But this was an interview. I've forgotten his second name now. Oh, well, give me a quick minute. Kevin Hollinrake. Yeah. And they do an interview, talk about this situation with the editing and clipping of Sadiq Khan, and fair play to Kevin Hollinrake, because this is how you deal with that. You know, he had that look and he had that idea. I'm not going to go on national television and embarrass myself and soil myself for this kind of disgraceful behaviour.
Sadiq Khan had obviously made a mistake. He corrected himself, but the clip that was put out on the Conservative Twitter account cut him off without him correcting himself. Is that how low the Conservatives are going to go in this election?
Well, I think we should give an accurate portrayal of what somebody said. I mean, that's clearly he's made a mistake. Yeah, it's made a mistake. I wouldn't support something which clearly was an honest mistake from Sadiq Khan.
So why do you think they put it out?
I've no idea. And that's a question to ask somebody at CCHQ. I'm sure questions will be asked.
Right, but you're not proud of that.
Well, it's not something I'd have done.
There you go. That's all you had to say, Richard. You know, instead of digging yourself a hole. Good evening, Kevin Grant. Don't worry about it. You know, it was. I just made a spur of the moment decision about half an hour before I'd start the live stream. But anyway, that's it. Because like he didn't give anything Victoria Derbyshire to fire back at him, because he knows full well that's bang out of order, and trying to defend that nonsense is just going to make himself look stupid. And I get the feel I've watched him a couple of times in Parliament and sometimes in select committee meetings, and I'll probably disagree with him a lot of politically, but you get the feeling he's somebody who's more or less got more morals than a lot of these complete fruitcakes. And Richard Holden, trying to defend all that nonsense, he just looked an idiot, didn't he? And he gave Victoria Derbyshire no reason to really tear in him, because she couldn't, could she? Because he basically just said it. No, that's unacceptable behaviour. It's not right. And in a way, he's right, because imagine if it happens to you, if it happened to him, I don't think he'd be happy with it, would he? But yeah, I just thought it was a really interesting, an excellent video clip, should I say? Now, this is funny. This is, you know, let's be honest. This is what you class the Tories. You know, they have a plan apparently. You know, where Labour have no plan, and all that's nonsense.
I'm just going to try and get your question answered, if I may. Has the government failed to meet yet another pledge on growing the economy? Has it or hasn't it?
We want the economy went into technical recession, as you said, in the last 2 quarters of that year.
They've just changed the goalposts. They'll just change
I still don't know. So the answer is it has failed to meet this pledge.
It has not grown the economy in the last 2 quarters.
Okay.
So to that extent, it has failed the pledge.
You could just see. I could imagine it on CCHQ. They're all in the room, you know. Right, tomorrow it's question time, short straw time, and right, whoever draws a short straw goes on. And I can imagine Graham Stewart this way. Oh, shit. Because it's every week now. They just embarrass themselves, don't they? They just look incredibly stupid trying to defend the indefensible, or just try and make it out as though everything's all fine. And like, as I put, you know, a bit of a 1984 fan, you know, 2 + 2 = 5 or 3 or sometimes 4, as well as 3 and 5 at the same time. And the audience laughing just basically says it all. Yeah, there's Jacob Rees-Mogg still doing the defensive interviews for the Conservative Party. This is brilliant. Yes, Lady in Scarf. I'm not surprised Graham Stewart is mentioning inflation, which is the only pledge received. Yeah, this is brilliant. I love what she says at the end.
I'm not surprised that Graham is mentioning the inflation, which is the only pledge that Rishi Sunak has actually managed to, after everything else out of his 5 pledges, all of the 4 other ones, he hasn't met. So the answer is yes, he has failed. And why not end this horror now and call a general election now?
Yes! Yes! Call a general election now! Put us all out of his misery! Yes, yes, please! End this torture and torment for us all. Yeah. Good evening, Reg Fairburn. Reg Fairburn. Good evening. Hope you're well. But yeah, general election now. Let's get it all over and done with. Well said, young lady. Oh, this is interesting. This is a... this is very, very interesting. Our Mr. Reform guy. Yes, yes, our... Now, we saw that little clip of him yesterday, basically telling a bit of a fib, wasn't he, about repossessions and possessions and stuff like that. You know, didn't really work for him, did it? Baldrick is more intelligent, yes. Yes. Well, he was in the first series, wasn't he? He was the intelligent one. But yeah, but when I saw this interview, I saw a little bit of another interview from a certain time ago, which I think basically paints our Ben Habib. There's that old saying, when they reveal themselves the first time, just believe them. But this was an interesting interview before that.
Message, possibly, from your perspective, that if Conservative voters vote for you, they get Labour, because you split the right-wing vote, didn't you?
Well, the presumption in your question is that we're some kind...
Should we clip and or edit that bit? Spit or split?
...of parallel party to the Conservative Party. And Reform UK isn't that. You know, the Conservative Party actually is no longer conservative. They don't stand for lower taxation, less regulation, less state intervention. They are all of that. You look at their 14 years in record, national debt at a record high, taxation at a record high, GDP now shrinking, GDP per capita shrinking even faster because of the rampant migration that we've had into the United Kingdom over the last few years. These
rampant migration. Get over yourself.
These are all the symptoms of a protracted Labour government. The Tory party is no longer conservative. The only small c Conservative party that there is Reform UK. So I don't accept the suggestion that we're splitting the Tory vote. We are the only Conservative vote. Yeah.
OK, but you weren't, though, because you didn't win. You came third. And because the vote was split, Labour got in. So what if you're not a parallel party to the Conservatives, what are you? Are you a party that's trying to pressure Rishi Sunak to go more right-wing in line with what you've just described?
No, no. We are not a weather vane for the Conservative Party. We are not its centre-right conscience. We are an independent party with our own policies, wishing to do a 180-degree turn on the policies that the country is now being governed by. We see the country facing an existential threat economically, politically, socially, and indeed constitutionally, with a border down the Irish Sea separating Great Britain from Northern Ireland. We want to reverse all of that. Rishi Sunak and the Conservative Parliamentary Party does not stand for any of that which we stand for. We are an entirely different electoral proposition, and we will be standing in every seat in Great Britain.
Yes. Yes, man of the people, Ben Habib. Yes. Yeah, whatever. Well, let's be honest here. Will the real Ben Habib reveal himself?
Well, interestingly, we will be very gung-ho about the UK if we get a vote for Brexit, because if we get a vote for Brexit, and if the commentators are right that sterling will weaken and the markets will go into a degree of volatility, we'll be looking at that as a really great opportunity to buy assets in the UK. We don't agree with the view that the UK economy is going to be damaged as a result of Brexit, and any short-term volatility therefore becomes a buying opportunity. So, depending on what happens on the 23rd of June, I think we'll be very active or less active in the UK. But it'll be steady as she goes in Poland. We'll continue to focus on the kinds of stuff we've been focusing on, and the same goes for Romania.
Okay, so I mean, it's a pretty close call in terms of whether we leave or where we stay. But it's good to hear that you've actually thought a strategy through. Should the vote of the populace be that we leave?
Yeah, and that would be a very heartening vote.
Okay, there's not many chief executives saying that at the moment, so that's a contrarian investment point of view. Let's go on to dividends, which are less political, hopefully.
Yes, it's the same Ben Habib who boasted on radio on pushing for a sterling crash event to make his business even more money. Yes, exactly, Cthulhu. Yeah, yes, this is a man who thinks he's man of the people. Yeah, whatever. He is. He's just a slimy little toe rag, isn't he? It's just a slime ball, and like our base, I saw plenty. Oh, this is funny. I don't know if you've ever read stuff from Newsthump. They're a bit of a political satire, and yeah, Alistair Cairn. Yeah, he's I can't remember where. Probably that clip I saw where they basically said it's a business. And you think, right, well, business? Don't you mean shouldn't you be a political party? But yeah, it is a company or not. Yeah, totally agree. But Newsthump, I always enjoy Newsthump because it's hilariously funny, for its political satire. It's the satirists I feel sorry for because they've got so much work to do. But yeah, always enjoy Newsthump. Where I saw this little bit of a thing where it's not a proper Labour victory because if this were a general election, we'd still have 15 MPs, explained Jacob Rees-Mogg. Yes. Yes, Jacob Rees-Mogg has derided Labour's by-election victories last night, insisting that if the same swing were repeated at a general election, the Conservative Party would still have 15 MPs. Following the chastening event for the government, Rees-Mogg went on the offensive, explaining that although Labour won both seats being contested, it wasn't a proper victory, as the swing would have not completely annihilated the government. He told reporters outside Parliament, "Of course Labour picked up 2 seats, and they are seats that would have been considered relatively safe Tory seats in normal circumstances, so they will try to spin this as some sort of victory. But can you really call it a victory if 15 of my colleagues have retained their seats? I'm sure Sir Keir will be pretending this is some sort of watershed moment, but I would readily point to the 15 Tory MPs that will still be in Parliament if this type of swing to Labour was seen in a general election and ask, is this really what victory looks like to you? I suspect he may say yes. This is what victory looks like to me, but I'm afraid it's simply not good enough. What good is massive parliamentary majority when you haven't ground your political opponents to dust and left them as nothing more than a ghastly mirage in their electorate distant memory? No, I'm afraid that's nothing less than complete and utter annihilation of the Conservative Party will count as a proper Labour victory at the next general election. if we have 100 MPs, then if we have over 100 MPs, then we will be the real victors. Oh. Always enjoy News Thump, you know, 'cause always enjoy News Thump because so it was always good fun for a good giggle. But always, but yeah, as I say, but for all my SNP fans, even Drew Henry got in on the act. Giving the Tories large, and I think they're a bit of a set to with Lucy Powell as well, so he didn't muck about. Talking about the failed well, let's be honest, they have really, haven't they? But yeah, it was quite a few interesting clips on Question Time.
I'll repeat that. The Tories have failed the economy and they should be gone. They've had plans. They've had plan after plan after plan, and it's been the same plan, more austerity. When we talk about the economy as politicians, what we're reflecting, or what we should be reflecting, but we often fail to do, is that people are facing a cost of living crisis. They're living through this every day with higher rents and mortgages. The higher mortgages, thanks to the mini-budget disaster from Liz Truss, and we're seeing higher food prices, 26%. Higher food prices over the past 2 years, largely because of things like Brexit. And we have an absolutely incoherent financial plan here. The trouble is it's actually matched by Labour. They're going to look to do exactly the same things.
Absolute nonsense,
an austerity agenda, wedded to Brexit as they are, failing to invest in green investment as is needed, even taking that minimum step that they need to over the green investment plan.
What's the SNP's record in Scotland in education, in health? What's your record in terms of managing money and the inquiries that are going on?
Let me answer that for you, Lucy. The attainment level in Scottish schools for primary schools is the highest it's ever been. For secondary pupils, it's gone up. That's the ECAS results. These things are trotted out to try and undermine
that's not true.
Let's talk about.
You know that's not true. What about you?
Let's go back to the question, Lucy.
Tax burden and people's
Lucy, you just accused Graham of trying to sidestep the question, and you're trying to do the same here. We're talking about the economy here.
You're just accusing me of saying that out of the same politics.
Let me tell you about what the Scottish Government are doing in Scotland to help people. We're not only doing things like mitigating the bedroom tax, but we're also freezing the council tax, which is already lower in Scotland than it is across the rest of the UK. So we're taking actions where we have with limited powers to try to do things to help people. But what we'd really like to do is invest in the economy. We'd like to take that money and put it into the green economy, which is one of the few industries that
But hang on, Drew,
there
are things that the SNP can do. I mean, you have levers you can pull in.
We don't have control. We don't have the power.
But you have control over some taxation. You can choose what you prioritise to spend money on. For example, people can go to university. Hang on. You can choose some of your priorities.
We cannot make those macro decisions about the economy. The Scottish Government don't have substantial borrowing powers like any other government.
You're heavily subsidised by
actually,
the government in Westminster.
Well, this is troped out all the time. And
Money's handed over from every taxpayer in England to the Scotland.
Let me pick that up at the moment. The 75% tax, the windfall tax that's going in to support the Tories' plans at the moment is coming from North Sea oil and gas. We're producing renewable electricity. All of that money. No, I've just said I want
bring in more inputs. Hang on, I'm just going to say we've got 4 minutes left, and we are a million miles from the original question.
I always enjoyed Drew Henry. He holds his own, doesn't he? Why is it with Graham Stewart? He looks like he's sucking a lemon every time he's staring at someone. But yeah, that was. They always. Now, when it comes to living up in Scotland, I'm never going to put my political views because I don't live up in Scotland and I don't really know to. I suppose the people I would listen to is the two Davies and they're always good for things to learn, but they always seem to throw this education thing at the SNP, and for me, they're always this government still get things right, and they'll get things that they'll get wrong, won't they? So it's neither here nor there, but it's not wrong about the Tories when it comes to the the economy. They have tanked it, haven't they? One Labour income tax only. It has no borrowing power. £42 billion to run Scotland income tax. 67 billion to waste monster. Well said. Yeah, well, he does. He looks like he's sucking on a lemon. Especially, well, he did last night when he were getting it both barrels, either from the audience or Lucy Powell or Drew. But yeah, I just found that really. But yeah, I did. That's the reason why Phil McCracken. Good evening, I hope you're well. That's the reason why I can't watch Question Time, because I just this like I said, there's something about just reeks of a Tory stooge for me, and more often than not, one thing I did used to enjoy was trying to spot the Tory plan. You know, usually they reveal themselves pretty well, don't they? Yeah, Tory plan. Now this was a really, really interesting. And I think it just paints a situation where we are today. This is president of the Student Union of Lancaster, and what's just to say is quite desperate, really.
But the future of the nation is really on our young people. I'm the president of the Students' Union here in Lancaster, and I have students coming in telling me they can't study because they haven't eaten in 3 days. And that is
They haven't eaten people are telling you they haven't eaten in 3 days.
Fiona, I have hundreds of stories. We have a food bank on campus. Tonight we have supper club, which is where we give out free meals. We have at least 100, 150, 180 students every Thursday who are desperate for potentially the only hot meal that they'll have that week. We have a food bank that we struggle to fund. We can only afford a certain amount of food portions on campus. And this is because students are caught in a crossfire. Universities don't have a funding model that works, which means that they are increasingly aggressively pursuing international students who don't necessarily have a level of English that's appropriate to be studying here, and they're led here under false pretenses.
But in terms of sticking to the economy.
Sorry, in terms of
No, absolutely.
And students are the future of the economy. If we can't eat, we can't study. If we can't afford our rent, we can't live here. Okay. We need a working maintenance loan model that doesn't increase in line with inflation. The government does not prioritise students, and it hasn't in the last decade.
Okay, thank you. Woman with the green.
Wow. Gone are the days of student nat Thursday nights, aren't they? Wow. But that is desperate stuff, isn't it? I watched that, I'm like, wow. But that's desperate. Shows you 14 years of Tory rule and gruel, innit? Good evening, Evelyn Humes. Evelyn Humes, I nearly said that. Evelyn Hume. If SNP get in to talk, it is very rare Fiona usually intervenes or allow others to talk over them. Educator stats were skewed because 95% Scots schools took part and 4% of England, handpicked by government, took part. Oh, that's interesting. It's interesting. I didn't know that. Phil McCracken, you're more than welcome here. Thank you very much. Because you're an absolute gentleman. Oh, my wife will be very, very pleased to hear that. Thank you very, very much. You'd get on great anywhere in Scotland, except 5. You need to have married you because, I can't. And have webbed feet. Oh, dear. No, you'd have to. And Tory pants chairing the show. Yeah. I'd have to go along with that, and I'll save you a place in Scotland if for a lifeline if it goes. Cheers, my friend. Yes. As I keep saying to a lot of my Scottish friends, could you just lift that Scottish border down just to where Bradford is and just. It's getting desperate down here. But yeah, that is sad, isn't it? You know, that old saying I've heard a few times. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. And after 14 years of Tory rule and gruel, it's getting really, really desperate, isn't it? But anyway. Couldn't ignore that one. Yeah, but yeah, I think we've got a couple here. Now, this was an interesting little interview between James O'Brien and Lewis Goodall. Like I say, thank heavens for the grown-ups in the room. And it talks about all the nonsense, you know, where the Conservatives are basically what you would say, you know, trying to say, oh, well, it's midterm blues and nothing to see here. Well, he doesn't quite agree. And what he says at the end is quite interesting.
We should probably do a little bit of grown-up analysis as well as the slightly more, shall we say, excitable coverage that I've been engaging in so far. Luckily, Lewis Goodall is on hand. Busy day for Lewis today. He'll be with you on LBC from 6 and is probably laying down, I believe is the correct phraseology, probably laying down one of those newsagents podcasts in the course of today as well. I'm working on the principle, Lewis, that you can tell how badly it went for the Tories because Jacob Rees-Mogg is saying it went well.
We prefer slapping down, as a matter of fact, James.
Slapping down.
Slapping down the podcast later on today. Yeah, well, look, I mean, there's a few things that your listeners and all LBC listeners and everyone else should remember when they're listening to some of this analysis. There's a lot of talk around about how Labour have done badly in these by-elections because they've got fewer votes than they did in these constituencies in 2019 in a general election where they lost appallingly, and in both of these constituencies where in 2019 they lost appallingly. That's not how elections work. Elections work by getting more votes in the election that you're fighting than your opponent, not fewer votes.
Well, you don't tempt fate. There could be a bill in the House of Commons next week in the same way that they've tried with Rwanda to redefine what counting means.
Well, indeed. So, you know, of course, turnout is always lower in by-elections. I mean, it is almost never going to be higher than it was in a general election because, you know, naturally a lot of people don't even know that it's happening in their constituency on a particular day. There is no other way of describing these results than a brilliant couple.
No worries, Cthulhu. Have a good weekend and take care, my friend.
The results for Labour and an absolutely catastrophic set of results for the Conservative Party. And if it were just these results, then of course you could say, well, this is just a couple of results. But obviously there is now something of a pattern, both in the Sunak premiership, I mean, where of course they lost Mid-Bedfordshire, Selby and Ainsty, but also where you go back to the Johnson premiership as well, where, you know, they were losing seats, you know, in Chesham and Amersham and in Shropshire, North Shropshire and other seats as well. You know, either to the Liberal Democrats, Tiverton, either to the Liberal Democrats, usually with swings north of, you know, 10%, 15%, 20%, or to the Labour Party. And the thing that really strikes me about this, James, is that if you'd said to me, you know, in 2019, the Labour Party would be winning in seats like Selby and Ainsty. They would be winning in seats like Wellingborough. It would have been, even in a by-election in those years, it would have been completely unimaginable. Why? Well, largely why? Because Brexit was so completely salient. The fact that the Labour Party can win in such heavily Brexit leave voting seats says something about how the politics of Brexit has unwound and says something about how little salience that issue now has, at least for the Labour Party.
So oddly, and this has happened quite a lot lately, and of course part of the problem is people like us who have to have opinions in the moment of the moment, and then the facts change, or it turns out that some of the parameters in which we framed those opinions may have been illusory. But actually, the great political reset that people claimed had happened in 2019 may prove to be very, very temporary, and the really significant generational political reset might be happening later this year.
Absolutely, it could. I mean, look, I think it will be a question for historians to ponder about whether the Conservative Party could have achieved a permanent realignment of British politics after 2019. I actually think that was potentially, at least, within their gift. I think what I do. I think what lost it is that Johnson had neither the intellectual application nor, to be honest, the honesty to ram it home. I think they genuinely got to a potentially post-Thatcherite moment in 2019. Two things happened. Johnson was too feckless, and also the Conservative Party didn't actually want it. There was a sort of political landscape that was there for them that was genuinely post-Thatcherite, and it just required a bit of flexibility. Actually, one of the great myths of British politics is that the Conservative Party is pragmatic. It's really not very pragmatic anymore. It probably was once, but it's not now. As soon as they have the opportunity to flex back to a more traditional version of themselves, i.e. Thatcherism, which they literally did in a sort of cosplaying fashion under Liz Truss, they did so. They could have had the opportunity with the new seats that they'd won to basically be more or less what Johnson was offering, which is a slightly soggier, kind of slightly right on culture, left on the economy, and that could have probably guaranteed them some hegemony. It hasn't happened that way, and as you say, it could, later this year, could be the realigning moment. What I would worry about for Sunak at this point now is it is possible that we're at just one of those points in the electoral cycle where it doesn't actually matter what the government does, and it doesn't matter what they say. It's like, as you say, James, people like you and me, we're paid to have opinions, we're paid to think about politics day to day. Our opinions change day to day. The public are sort of glacial in their opinion. Most of the time they're only sort of vaguely paying attention. But when they change their mind, like a glacier, it really moves. When the glacier moves, it really moves. And there's not much you can do to stop it. So my worry, if I were number 10 and Rishi Sunak, would be, at this point now, the public have just stopped listening. They've made up their mind.
And that is, regardless of what they throw into the mix, that is, as you suggest, likely to stay the same. Lewis, thank you. I know you. Are you going to be writing about this in your new book?
What, this particular day, this conversation?
No, not today. Not necessarily. Not this conversation. Even I'm not that self-referential. I go straight to the index. I can't believe it. What were you doing on February the 16th? No, I mean that stuff about the possibility that the Tories could have somehow transformed.
I will. Well, if it proves to be right, then I'll definitely write about it.
I find that absolutely fascinating.
Inevitably, I'll just forget it.
There are, of course, there is one circumstance in which the Conservatives could claim to have done rather well yesterday. And that would be if they got Laura Trott to count the votes.
Well, yes. Yeah, but she's probably not got a future as a returning officer.
Lewis Goodall with you at 6:00 on LBC.
But yeah, there were a couple of things I found interesting. Good evening, Nathan Leeds. Hope you're well. And Mogg stated that the Tories plus Reform together would have more votes than Labour yesterday. So is he basically punting for proportional representation? Is that what he's punting for? Yeah, I totally agree, Phil McCracken. Yeah, he's very, very good. That's the reason I found the interview very, very interesting. He's right. You can have all these pick apart little statistics to sort of like suit your own end, your own narrative. But the simple fact of the matter is, when what matters is who's won, really, isn't it? And let's be honest. Yeah, well, don't worry about list. I'll probably be finishing soon anyway. So, but I think there's just one more little clip. But yeah, I just found that, the bit that I took from that was when he said, I get the feeling he's writing when he said that it doesn't matter what the Conservatives throw into the mix, whatever dead cat, the people are not listening. They're not going to listen because the people have had enough. After 14 years of Tory rule and gruel, it don't matter what they say, really, is it? They're not really going to make a dent in this election when it comes out. That's what it seems like to me. But yeah, there was so much to take. And when he talked about the stuff about with Boris Johnson and whatnot, and Liz Truss, right on immigration or something and left on the economy and stuff. That I found that really, really interesting. Yeah, totally agree. He's very good at what he does. Spicy cat, yeah. Sorry, English is not my mother tongue. I think you'll find a lot of people have said the same about me as well. But yeah, it was just a really, really interesting interview that I really, really found interesting. But before I read it come out, I just saw this little clip. It's from Lord Debon and a former Tory party chairman, and it's well worth watching because as I watched it, it kind of reminded me of the video I did yesterday within the House of Lords, where Lord Stewart basically had to basically say the quiet bit out loud, which I think those with rational thinking would have known straight away that it's not self. But what he had to say was quite damning.
The Conservatives, first of all, are a constitutionalist. They support the Constitution and they support the rule of law. We are being asked to vote that Rwanda is a safe place when the British Supreme Court, under British law, passed by the British House of Parliament, have said it isn't a safe place. And the government has admitted that it isn't at the moment a safe place. Ministers have said it's going to be a safe place. And we're supposed to vote that it is a safe place, and what's more, that it always will be, because there's no time limit on this. So you could have a revolution in Rwanda and have a totally different government, and we'd still have voted that it's a safe place. You can't vote on truth. It either is or it isn't, and the courts are the place to make that decision.
Now, I don't know if I find myself at an advanced age being a bit of a conservative constitutionalist myself, but I have to say I found the arguments from yourself and many others in the House of Lords very compelling. But we all know what's going to happen. It's going to be sent back to the Commons. All your amendments, if they're there, will be ripped out and it'll be sent back, and ping and pong, and then eventually it will become law. What is your understanding of the expected end point of this? When is it going to be law, do you think, this bill?
Well, I shall fight it until the very end, because I think that it is one of the worst things that you can do to pretend that governments can decide the truth. The last time we did that was in the 16th century. We've never done it in between. King Canute tried to do it. His court said, you can tell the tides to go back because of your sovereignty. And this is what the government says: because we're sovereign, we can actually tell an untruth and make it a truth. I'm not prepared to do that.
Very, very good, wasn't it? Absolutely brilliant. All right, DW. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it because, yeah, just anyway. Good evening, Billy Kirsch and Sir Larry. Don't worry about it, Billy. It's not a problem. It was something I just decided to do half an hour before I set up the live stream, because I didn't really have anything planned for tonight, because I just didn't really have any material that I thought would be worth doing. So I just thought, why not just do a live stream? Just welcoming the weekend, so don't worry about it. But I just found him absolutely spot on, and he's right. It's something I never thought of. That's an interesting, yeah. I'm not sure I would do that, Phil McCracken. It's not something I'm sure I'd know how to do. I'll have a look at it. I'll have a look up at it. But yeah, and when he said that, I found that quite opening, because like there could be regime change there, but that means the legislation still stays, doesn't it? And I just thought, that's yeah, I never thought of that. Because I'll tell you what I've been watching a little bit, and I might do a few live streams on that, is the Human Rights Cross Select Committee, where they've been doing the safety of the Rwanda bill. And let's just say that if you've seen the one where Jill Mortimer gets her backside handed by the QC, and in that first one there was one just her who got her backside handed by that guy as well. There were a conservative law, a baroness conservative who basically she got her backside handed to her because she was basically punting the we're being invaded line, and he took her to task on it. And you know when somebody's floundering, when basically she had to interject and say, "Hello, Jim Stephen. Yeah, I'm not so bad, but don't worry. I won't be too long anyway because I've already been here an hour and a half, and I'm probably eating into Reagan Elite's time. I didn't realise you were doing a live stream, so I just did this by chance. So I probably won't be doing this for too much longer. But I just found that there's a couple of meetings on that, and I'm thinking I might do a few of them next week because let's be honest, the first one was quite dynamite, and I've watched one or two other than there's one or two really get their backsides handed to them, and it's really fascinating to watch. But yeah, all hail the orb. Don't worry about it, Ben Shaw. It's not a problem. But yeah, I think I might do a few more live streams. But anyway, that's that. And I'm just gonna basically just ask, what are your plans for the weekend before I go? I'll say mine is, well, tomorrow off to watch my beloved Bradford City. You know, chances are we'll probably be the Robin Hood of the League Two. You know, we tend to rob the rich, you know, those at top of the league, rob them of points. We went down to Wrexham and basically we usually went to Wrexham and took 3 points from them. We played MK Dons, they're top at league, and we absolutely hammered them 4-0. And now we're playing Sutton at home tomorrow, bottom of the league. So we take from the rich and we give to the poor, so we'll probably lose. And so I say, just wondering what would be your weekends. But anyway, Sir Larry the cat, the Tory on Newsnight got hammered by the Labour MP. He was having none of it. If I'm honest, Sir Larry the cat, I've seen a couple of clips. I've done a few clips, and I think they were all at it, weren't they? Yeah, nobody's listening can. Yeah, it's not a problem. I don't want to be. Yeah, I think I will do because there's loads of, and sure, probably will do because there's loads of great little select committee meetings, and as I say, if I don't see a good thumbnail, I'm not going to make a video out of it because it's. You have to work incredibly hard to get it right, and if this thumbnail don't work, it's not going to be really worth basically making the video if nobody's going to watch. But I think I will do a few select committee meetings. Might do 1 or 2 Scottish select committee meetings. They're usually quite spicy. Especially with Deirdre Brock and our Douglas Dross. But yeah, I think I might do a couple of them human rights cross party. So they usually, because they are, Dame Diana Johnson, she's really good. Yeah, so, and there's 1 or 2 interesting ones next week, so. Yeah, it does, Nicholas Beth. It does, and sometimes I'm usually a week behind with them because sometimes I do miss them, and a lot of the times I think, oh, that'd be really good if I see it. If I see a good thumbnail, I think that'd be worth covering. Well, off to see Cambridge City play tomorrow. Oh well. Good luck. I hope they win. Hope they win. If you say Douglas Ross 3 times, he appears just like. I have to say, I have to find them hilariously funny when him and Pete Wishart go at it. If it ain't him and Pete Wishart, it's usually Deirdre Brock rubs him up the wrong way, and she has that uncanny, fantastic gift of rubbing up Tory MPs really up the wrong. Appreciate your vids, DB. Please put a link in the whole meeting when you put out clips. Good to see the whole. Yeah, I try to, but as being a bit of a one man band like, and I'm trying to be the jack of all trades but master of none. There are certain things I do tend to forget, but it's something I do try to do. And yeah, thank you, Sir Larry the Cat. I do my best, because I tend to find that when you get the experts in there, they're quite very, very good to watch, because I tend to learn a hell of a lot. But the only trouble is nobody knows. Pete Wishart, keyboard player. But it tends to be there's some fantastic experts that go in there and fantastic information there, but more often than not, more often than not, nobody watches them. And I do a video because I think, I don't know who that is, I'm not interested. I'm at the Hawthorns tonight. Hopefully we will beat Rishi football team, and he has a miserable week. You do realise that will be his number one priority. But yeah, I think I think next week, I think that's what I will do, and I might do more stuff on a Friday, something like this, welcome in the weekend and let's have a bit of a good giggle and a laugh. Because it's like, I know my niche is select committee meetings and stuff in House of Commons, but not a lot. Yes, we are the fingerless glove team. Yes, but yes, you can tell Reagan and Lee that in a minute I'll be so I'll probably be joining him and saying hello. I can understand what you mean, Susan. Some of them are a bit tough to sit through, so. Because I remember once I watched one with Stephen Barclay in there, and my God, one thing you can never accuse him of being is a party animal. He is boring. It's about as interesting as root canal work, and this was a 2-hour video. Please watch the video on the dubious relation between the Dutch government and the regime in Rwanda. Oh, that might be interesting. Cheers for that. Spinks a cat. Yeah, cheers for that. That's something I might have. Yeah. Oh, good evening, Stuart Smith. Yeah, I do ask on a Sunday, what possibly can the Tories do to screw up next week? Every week, I truly don't think they can surpass the previous week, and they managed to screw up it. Yeah, don't they just? And like, I can imagine when it came to this row with anti-Semitism, I can imagine that those in Labour HQ said, look, just ride it out, because you can guarantee that complete idiot in number 10, he'll do something stupid and make him. and that's what he will do. He can't help himself, can he? There's videos. Now that I don't know, but yeah, maybe that's something I'll have a little look in. A Spinksy Cat, something keep my mind occupied. Have a look at the Tribune Triliteral. Get my teeth in packed. The integration of Israel and American intelligence in UK and the companies like Oracle Double Down News had an eye-opening piece on it. Yeah, I think I will do. Yeah, something I might have get myself into a bit of the geopolitics. I try to, but it's like I remember when it came to what happened in Israel. But when after about 3 or 4 days when people were talking about it, kept on talking it, I would just it's like I usually enjoy listening to radio for a bit, but when everybody were talking about it, and it just seemed to be people ringing in saying, I totally agree with the last caller, but can I add my little caveat to it? And you just think, I've had 3 days of this, and I think, and it just became a little bit too much for me. But I find a lot of the times when it comes to you find a lot of people dealing in misinformation, and sometimes I don't know what's true and what's not. So I would never say I'm much of an expert in this, but anyway, I get the feeling I'm babbling on now. So what I will do is I know you want people go see Bumping, and hopefully I'll meet you in with Reagan Elite's live stream. So what I'll do is I shall leave our live stream here, and I thank you for popping in, all of you. Really, really do appreciate it, and thank you so much. So all I will say is have a lovely weekend, and just take care, my friends, and hopefully see you in the other live streams later on. So take care, my friends.